it was funny because for a long time I was sort of like trying to write this hit, like trying to write a catchy song for his support. And then I wrote this song that has no chorus and just speeds up, and it's just me chanting about a bunch of stuff. And he's like, I love it, I'm in. And so he joined to start co-managing me. But music, it's this connector where you can have, even if it's one person in the room, it's like we're on the same frequency right now. And there's not a lot of things in life that can do that. And with music, it can scale up to, Coldplay just did 4 nights or 3 nights or whatever it was to like close to 100,000 people. I remember when I was deciding what I was going to, I was like, I don't know if I'm sure if Fletcher Kent's the thing. And my mum said, I really like Fletcher Kent. I said, yeah, you named me that. I know you like it.
I can't ask you that.
Don't your mum's like, yeah, no, I'm not feeling that.
No.
It just doesn't flow. I don't know.
Don't like it.
How good's that? Oh, you can see it on your computer. What do you reckon? Sometimes
that's a nice little outtake.
I often feel like the grandparent, a tech Luddite, like way off the mark.
But I agree, it looks heaps.
You remember when a parent would take a photo with an old digital, old digital camera, and they'd go like that, and they'd go, oh shit, I've turned it off. And the little lens would retract. Did you ever have that? I had that so often, and they'd accidentally turn it off. And I feel like I'm that person often. I'm not even 30 yet.
I'm approaching. Next year.
But you're way advanced compared to me, so you're fine. You're safe.
How old are you, Fletch?
23.
Fuck.
Wow.
I'm just doing the math on, I think it was 2018.
Yeah, when we first spoke.
Yeah.
Probably, I think it would have been 2019, and I would have been 18 then, I think.
Either way.
Because I think that's when my previous EP was coming out.
Well, I remember we spoke to you in the last chat. It was true, and it's still true to this day. You played an acoustic performance for us in our first chat.
Yeah.
And that song still hasn't been released. So it's still an exclusive.
That's right. It might stay that way too.
So there's only one place you can listen to that song, and that is on the Homebrewed podcast archive.
Yeah.
Go back and find it.
And that is an archive because it's, 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
But we're away. So we've got that. But you come to us today, Fletcher, in a different iteration, well, a completely new project, I think.
Yeah.
Is that how we should kind of refer to this? Because there was a significant gap between your last music and your last productions. And now what you've got is this almost rebirth of your project in a way. Is that fair?
That's 100% fair. I think that was the intention, really. It was, I felt like I'd got to the end of what I was doing, and I felt really strongly about taking some time and focusing on my songwriting and building out and finding myself with a great team, which is something that I'm really grateful to have found myself in that position. And yeah, so this is the first song is coming out on Friday, the 15th November, and it's a song called I'll Be. I'm stoked to be in this starting spot again. Definitely new name. I mean, it's my same name, but it's my middle name as my last name now, Fletcher Kent, and it feels really right to be starting again in this way. It's like it's a new project, but it's very much the same energy and care that I've taken with my music always.
So what was the decision behind ditching the surname and making your middle name now your surname? Is that just so it's, I guess from an outside perspective, it is a clear distinction between what you had been releasing to what you're going to be releasing? Or was it more, because you're saying it's still you, right? So your identity hasn't changed necessarily. It's more the output, or what's the logic behind that?
The output's a good way to say that. I think it's definitely an intentional fresh start, and it's a sort of line in the sand of this is a new project, this is a new intention. It had been 5 years, and so the music that I was making I was a teenager the last time I put music out, and this is really the first music I'm releasing as an adult with this team. Like I've taken this time to focus on the song, so it's definitely that's part of it, and what incentivized me to want to change the name and start again in this way.
Yeah, because some people will change their name when they start a new project, and that's more because I feel like a different person when I'm now in this different project as opposed to what I was before. But you're saying it's still you. It's still, I get you're still going to be as authentic as possible. You're not now, creating a different narrative around who you are or what you're about. It's more, just line in the sand and a different output, I guess.
Exactly.
We had a little bit of bandy stuff towards the end of Fletcher Kent as it was. A lot of acoustic singer-songwriter solo gigs as well. What can we now expect with Fletcher Kent? You said plenty of energy, so I'm expecting it's more of a band scenario.
Yeah, I'm definitely these songs that we've recorded 5 so far. I've been recording with a band, drums, keys, bass, and obviously myself on guitars, acoustic and electric, and got some cool little cameo backing vocals from my girlfriend and my sister, and my parents are even on one song in the background.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's band music, but it's also very much music that I've written for the most part on my own. There's a couple co-writes in there, but this first song that's going to come out called I'll Be is a song that I wrote on my own, just with my guitar, sitting on the lounge, getting into my zone. And so it's very singer-songwriter led, but also feel grateful and excited by the prospect of having the band and being able to build the sounds out to a more anthemic thing that supports the inspirations, I guess, of some of the music coming. This first song, I'll Be, is very inspired by the Interstellar theme song and that movie. It's very inspired by Gang of Youths, which I'm actually wearing the shirt today.
I could see that because we were talking before you got in, actually, with Jack Negro before he left, and we were saying, that the song that dropped on Friday as you're listening to this, that it is very sort of, Eamonn described it as off the cuff. And it doesn't seem, I had a Gang of Youthsy type of feel listening to the way just, the lyrics flowed, or like it's sort of you here and then you're over there, then you're back over here.
Yeah. I think lyrically this song was really just a bit of an outpouring. I'd been focusing on writing songs in a very intentional way, thinking about structure and melody and all of this. And then one day I just sat down and was kind of in a different space and just started writing for writing's sake and to get something off my chest. And originally I didn't even think it was a song. I thought it was just like a poem or an outro or something. It's like, I'll be this, I'll be that. And I'm chanting these things. It's sort of like a personal manifesto of all these things that I want in my life. And it starts small and gets bigger vocally. It gets faster. It gets massive with the band at the end.
This I'll go faster, I'll go higher, I'll be your best friend's messiah. I'll get rich to throw a party, I'll burn down the Illuminati. I'll have sex, I'll stay focused, I'll cry freely, I'll be broken, I'll be triumph, I'll be failure, I'll jerk off on all my haters. I swear I'll deserve it, I'll get down until I've heard it.
And that's really this sort of building crescendo thing is I think it connects quite closely to some of life's experiences, at least my life's experiences, that have these small moments and then things can build and become big and feel like they need a bit of a release. And that's what this song really is. And the journey of this song and the last few years of getting to this point, I started talking to a great man, Mike Taylor, and he was the managing director of Universal at the time. This was maybe early 2020. I just done a tour with my band, and I was preparing to this mindset of starting again and focusing on songwriting and finding a great team. And my manager, Courtney, set up this meeting with Mike, and I went in and he, from the get-go, said, I think you're great. I think you've got some potential, but I think you can be better, and I think you need to focus on your songwriting and focus on building out this world and building what you're really trying to say, which was a little bit tough love, but I felt that he believed in me. It was really really true, and I trusted his opinion and his sort of expertise. So I went away and would write for 3 months and then send him, send me your best few. I send him what I thought was my best few, keep writing, do demos, send songs. And it was this for a couple years, really, of just trusting his guidance and trusting his belief, until one day he set up a session with a producer named Matt Rad, which was an American guy. He's done some great stuff, and I had a session with him and a guy, Ned Houston, in Sydney, and we wrote a cool song. And then after this session, I was talking to Matt and just hanging out, and he played me this song. We were sort of just listening to music, and he played me this song. He's like, I think you'll like this song. And it just started small and built up, and it was like just this story, real story song. And it really moved me. I said, oh, that's crazy. I just wrote something really similar to that in the last couple of weeks. And because I didn't think it was really a song per se, I hadn't demoed it. It was sort of in that pile of like, I'm not sure what it is. I'll get to it later. But this moment kind of brought up sharing it with him, and I played him this song. It was the first time I'd played it to anyone outside of my family. And I was just reading the lyrics off my phone, and by the end of it, I was just very emotional, like kind of tearing up. And he was beautiful in that moment. Was like, I think that's great. Let's demo that right now. And so we did a live demo, did a demo with him, and then sent that demo to Mike Taylor, who, it was funny because for a long time I was sort of like trying to write this hit, like trying to write a catchy song for his support. And then I wrote this song that has no chorus and just speeds up, and it's just me chanting about a bunch of stuff. And he's like, I love it, I'm in. And so he joined to start co-managing me with Courtney, my manager. And I've been with her since I was 14, 15. And so Mike really went over to the States and set up some great relationships and got me signed essentially to AWOL out of America with an great Aussie team as well. And then the same, signing a publishing deal with Cobalt Music. And so, yeah, Mike really believed in this song and believed in my music, and I trusted his judgment. He'd signed Dean Lewis, and he'd signed Boy and Bear, I think, and Winterbourne, Coast Boys, a bunch of amazing Aussie artists. And so I trusted his opinion, and for him to jump on board and help manage me and help me get this record deal and the publishing deal and build this team out was, I was so grateful for that. And I went over to New York with him the end of last year and met some of the team over there, the label team, and had that time with him there. And then he passed a couple months later, January, the start of this year. And so I don't take lightly his belief in me and his support, and I wouldn't be in this starting point without him. So I guess I'm still trusting his guidance and his belief, and very grateful for that, and for him laying the foundations for this team and this new starting point. And you say about the name, actually, I was still iffy on what it should be, and he was like, what's your middle name? And then he just sent out a bunch of songs with Fletcher Kent. I was like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing. So yeah, this starting point is really because of Mike, and I plan to keep showing up and honouring that. And linked up with Eric J, who was a close friend of Mike's. Eric's an amazing producer, mixer, American guy, but works out of Sydney and has for a long time. He's Grammy nominated, or Grammy winning, I think. Yeah, Grammy winning, ARIA winning, bunch more nominations as well as the ones he's won. He's amazing guy. And so very privileged to have recorded this song and a bunch more songs with him, and with my band as well. And yeah, it feels really special to be doing it with some great people around me, and feel like it's a team, and feel like, music, it's my name on the song. It's like I've written the song, but even just this song and this starting point has come about because a lot of people have believed in it and believed in me and helped me get to, going again. So
it's a whirlwind in the best and worst ways by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I did not expect it to that story as you were telling it. I was like, amazing for it to go in that. So first of all, I'm very sorry for you personally, and obviously everyone who knew Mike. So, but that's obviously fuel to the project now. I can only imagine in what you're doing and what you're doing now. And to go back that whole period, I remember I saw you, I think it was the launch of Central Coast Music and Arts, if I'm not mistaken. And you spoke about where you're at this time. And at the time you were saying, you know, like, I'm working on this, I've signed this, I'm going to America. So we knew things were coming. And at the time you're like, nothing's going to be ready for a while. And you were right, because we're sitting in this chair over a year later from that encounter, and you've got this music ready to release. You started with this track, I'll Be, the one that you weren't even intending to be a song. Yeah. Why did you choose that to be the first release under Fletcher Kent? I think I was really keen for this song, I'll Be, to be the first one that comes out, because I think I've maybe got more of myself into this song than anything I've ever written. It's deeply personal. I feel like it represents my artistic drive well. And I think it also just honors, this song was really the starting point of the journey sort of internally of building out the team as well. This was the catalyst and the starting point of my coming on board and signing the deals. So I think it feels right that it's almost like starting a book with a bit of an introduction, you know, like this is what I'm about. And I like that's first. I think it's special for me. Yeah.
It's a sequel after a bit of world building or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and on that song, I'll Be, I mean, you're touching on, obviously you said it's deeply personal, and people who listen to it will understand that. You're touching on, I think, what is a universal experience, but in different ways. Maybe people's I'll Be's are different to what your I'll Be's are, but it's from what I've heard of the song and seen of it, it's very relatable in a lot of ways. Where do you place that within your own journey? Because one way to look at that would be, I'm not doing these things and I want to do those things, or I will do those things, or, you know, like that frustration we always have. I'm constantly going through it with like, oh, you know, like I need to do this and be better and be able to do this. And I think maybe for everybody it's accepting that we can't do all of those things and focusing on what we can, but where in that timeline or framework does it land for you?
That's a good question, because you're right. It's some of the things I'm saying, it's a projection of like, this is what I want to be doing and I'm not currently. I feel like I've idealized this best version of myself in my mind, and what that looks like, and how I'm living, and what are the things I'm doing, and how am I conducting myself. And that's sort of like a thing to move towards and to try and uphold. And some of it is quite hyperbolic, you know, like I'll fly spaceships. It'd be nice if I get to do that, but it's probably not on the cards. But it's even some of those things in there. I'll burn down the Illuminati, I say in this song, which is, there's some sort of almost joking things there, but even that stuff is quite close to me, and I'm very enamored with the stars, and I do think about the constructs of society, and you know, so some of those things are like, there's a line, "Say yeah, baby," Austin Powers. Like, this movie was one of the movies I grew up on. And then there's these real more heavy hitting lines like, "I'll die slowly when I want to," which is sort of taking inspiration from my grandparents. They're all, my grandfather passed about a month ago. He was first of my 4 grandparents to pass, and he was 90. My other 3 grandparents and his wife and then on my dad's side, they're all in their 80s, mid to late 80s. And you know, I think there's some of these things that are like goals and things to work towards. And when I wrote the song, one of the lines is, "I'll try yoga." And since then I've been doing yoga. So it's I guess it's a little bit of this manifesto that's helping me bring things into my life that I want to stay true to, you know.
How have you found the yoga?
It's great. It is, you know, it's, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", 2-ish. So it's good to just stretch these long limbs out for sure.
That one resonated with me a lot because that's one of my olbies. I need to start doing yoga. I've been trying to tell myself to do it for ages and find the time. And that's, I mean, I think that alone is what prompted that question, is because that feels like this thing that has been ever running away from me personally.
Yeah.
It's like, how hard do you be on yourself for not achieving those things?
Right.
Or aiming for them as well, and where that song lands. But beautiful, and I'm glad that yoga it's going to be a further source of inspiration for me.
Oh, sick.
Is finding that yoga.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's good to, there's a line, coming back to funny movies, like there's a line in Dodgeball where Vince Vaughn says, "I find if you don't have goals, you're never disappointed," which is just a bit of a joke. But I think having these goals and things to be striving towards, it's like, that's part of the thing, It's I've been doing music with the intention of it being my career since I was like 12 years old, which is more than 10 years, and this is essentially like my first song coming out of this new starting point. So having these goals and things to work towards, and then having a value system in place amongst that, I think makes the path purposeful and meaningful, rather than going down the line and being like, I have this song coming out, I'm going to chase this thing that's maybe not me because I've not thought about it, or I've not sort of held the mirror up, I've had that checkpoint from the start and been clear on how I want to go about not just this journey in terms of music, but journeys as a whole in my life, whether it be with my friends and my relationship and my way of conducting myself. So yeah.
But one thing that's always stood out to us about you is you are an incredibly grounded human being. And I think we've said this about any time you've come in, and we just like, he's just such an awesome guy. And like, when we asked, and we were shocked about how young you still were, partly because we've known you for such a long time, but also you're so mature. And I think we sort of see you as a peer, in the sense that, he's probably about our age. Just because you have that maturity that we wouldn't have had at your age.
Oh, thanks.
I definitely didn't.
Thanks.
But so I think that's also, reflective in your approach to your music, is because you are so grounded. You've had a lot of life experience as well, which might, be a contributing factor towards that. But it's certainly, we touched on before about the name change doesn't mean that necessarily your motives or your personality is going to change behind it as well, because it is still authentically you. Yeah.
I think if anything, it's the most authentic version of me, and I've had the time to figure that out, So it feels, it's not some new name, new identity type thing. I'm not, trying to reinvent myself as much as I'm just getting closer to what I've felt like I've always meant to do.
Yeah, I think you updated your profile picture and you were like, new picture saying me, or it was something.
I think I actually did say new picture, new me, but but that's just a bit of a vibe, It's just
it's not that serious.
I think it's good to I think about time and change a lot, and it's funny reflecting on myself and coming up to this release. It's sort of posed that self-reflection a little bit, because it's the first time I've put music out for 5 years. I'm just reflecting on the music I've released in the past under a different name and sort of the steps to get to this point. And I'm not sure what side I sit on in terms of thinking about change, of like, am I always the same person that I've always been? Or like, am I a new person every day I wake up?
What's the healthier option?
Yeah, I guess? And this is like, I was reading this time philosophy book one time, and one of those theories is like theory of becoming, of like every moment is completely new, and so you can't take anything you thought you knew for truth. Or this idea of like everything is constantly the same, and every second it's just a different variations of this truth that's always been and always will be. And I think I flip between those in my personal life, of thinking of myself, of trying to uphold this identity that I had as a kid and way of looking at the world, and keeping a sort of energy and wonderment with life, but then also recognizing like how do I actively be someone different? How do I actively be the best version of myself that I can be? And so this song has a bit of that in it, you know, some of these things like the movie from my childhood and some of these ways that are talking about my family and my grandparents and my brother and sister and that real grounded, like ever-present thing, but then also these things to look forward to and be anew and be the better version of myself. And, you know, that's a daily sort of journey, I think. But it's cool to get to this point of putting music out again and be comfortable in that and be excited by that and know that the version of me that's underway and that's coming is one that I've wanted for a long time, and I'm excited by that.
Yeah, and you've arrived now, and I'm interested in the process of your songwriting as well, because there's been a lot of personal growth and change that's happened.
Yeah.
But you were speaking about how you wanted to, well, how you were trying to write hits or trying to write songs in a certain way to get that wow or that launch, and then having this song "I'll Be" become the thing that's going to lead and the one that your success was born, or not your success personally in terms of that song was born out of. How are you thinking about and approaching songwriting now? Was there a lesson and a reset in that whole experience?
Yeah, cool question. I think it's definitely been a thing to assess of, you know, songwriting is a funny thing that as much as it is creative, it's also very good. Songs are very sort of mathematical in that if you follow this sort of structure, you know, as humans, we're designed to recognize patterns.
Yeah.
So if I go da 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 da, and then I repeat that da 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 da, and then I do something different, and then I repeat that again, like that's gonna feel nice. Whatever you say, whatever you want over it, it's like these patterns we recognize, which is why rhyming is so prevalent in songwriting. It's why these melodic patterns are so prevalent, and melody is really important in that no one ever goes like, what's the song that was about the girl that did that thing? People go like, what's that song that's like, you know? And so we remember melodies as people more than lyrics, which is an interesting reflection as a songwriter and as someone who lyrics are so important to. But I just have to, sometimes I separate myself from that and go, and when you go and see, you know, even like eclectic bands like a Radiohead, everyone's still there for the hits. Like, yes, people appreciate all of the bending of the rules and being outside the lines, but like the stuff people sing the loudest to are the hits still. And that's because they have these patterns and it makes it sort of easy for people. And so there's this really fine line between purposefully doing that, because I think we've all felt when a song is just reaching that and that's the whole point of the song, it just feels a little bit like you're being sold to or something, like it's just not right. And so there's a really sweet spot between things land in a nice way when you're writing about something that's meaningful to you and purposeful and it has a point beyond just being a song that is going to be catchy or whatever. But then it fits into this space that's accessible for people. And I think this song "I'll Be" is just, there's no chorus, you know, but in a way it's still, in my mind, it's still this accessible in that I'm saying I'll be this, and there's this sort of pattern of, there's a framework that the song lives within. It's verse upon verse upon verse in a similar structure. Yes, my vocals go up and the song gets faster and we add, you know, it builds up throughout the song. But the lesson in that for me is if songs sit outside this convention, it's good to just follow it when I'm writing and see where it's gonna land, because it might be really meaningful and close to my heart and aligned with some truth that I'm really trying to say, and it might not fit the hit. Like, it's not a big chorus hook line that everyone's going to sing along to, but you know, that's not just the point of music, I think.
Yeah, and like, you know, San Cisco would have many great album tracks and many other great hits, but no doubt when they play Awkward at a live show, that's the song that goes off because that was on the commercials, and that's the song that I think most people would recognize if you played the whole library of San Cisco tracks.
Totally.
Awkward would be the one that, oh yeah, I know that song.
Yeah.
Like even my parents would know that song as opposed to other ones. But
for sure.
On the commercialization side of things too, my mate was a big fan of Imagine Dragons. And then suddenly their songs were in every movie, every commercial. And he started to feel like, I think they're writing songs for the purpose of being on a commercial, as opposed to this is just a song that's meaningful to, you know, me as an artist, or this should resonate with my fans. So you're right, there is a line there that you need to be careful. I mean, I think being on a commercial is a bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, obviously we would have no idea, but I would just imagine that the success or popularity and financial gains that you would have from that would be great. But at the same time, you don't become boxed in, but like similar to, let's use the Awkward San Francisco example. They would have many other songs that perhaps they would rather play at their live shows, but they know we have to play Awkward because 20% of people have bought a ticket because that's the only song they know, or they've brought a friend along, or whatever the case is. Like there would be that as an artist, you would, I don't know how to describe it, but you know where I'm going with it. Like,
I think the dream is to have both. You know, if you don't have these hits that people want to sing along to, then you don't really have people coming to your shows for the most part. So it's these pop songs that I really look up to have that authenticity where they feel like they're the song that they were always meant to be. It hasn't reached for anything, but it's also infectious. Like you look at Somebody That I Used to Know by Gautier, and it's like that song is just a hit, you know, like you listen to that once, come the second chorus, like, is this the best song I've ever heard? And
or to your point, I guess, of, you know, pattern recognition is you can already sing the next chorus by the time you hear it after the first time.
Exactly. And so that's been a focus in my songwriting, but I think it was important for me to start with something that was almost the furthest thing away from that, just to let people know that this is not music for music's sake. Like this is so close to my purpose and my intention and reason for being on earth, you know, what I feel I'm here to do. And if people resonate with any part of the song, it's I think that's a spot that I want to start from more than I want someone to recognize a melody of mine, you know.
Yeah, and let's talk about that part of yourself that you spoke about. And I think we've touched, it's funny, we have like themes that carry across guests, and I don't know if it's us like subconsciously carrying them, but authenticity's been one we've spoken about a bit lately. I don't know if we haven't brought it up, but it keeps coming back. It's the cycle that we're in. But then also this purposeful and this I am here to do this regardless kind of attitude. What is that within you? Is it I'm here to make music, or I'm here to make a career of music? I'm here to dedicate my life to music. I'm here to, you know, like it's an unwavering determination to create for others as well as creating for yourself.
It's two things, I think. One, from a songwriting standpoint, going through this first batch of songs that we've recorded that are going to come out, they've all been for the purpose of I need to write this song for myself right now. And I think that kind of cuts through. The song that I end up liking the most of myself are just the ones that meant the most to me. But then importantly for me, it's always been about the gigs. Like I performed in front of my school when I was 8. It was the first time I performed in front of people other than my family, I guess. And it was the year Michael Jackson had passed, and we did this tribute show, and everyone sang different Michael Jackson songs. And so I sang ABC in front of the school, like the Jackson 5 song, and had everyone clapping out of time behind me. and I just remember I still remember this feeling of the end of that night being like, that is the best feeling ever. What do I have to do to do that all the time? And so I think the drive for that is just the energy. It's like this energy exchange. You cultivate a feeling in the room, and you can conduct this energy and bring people with you. And it's this ride of like, some songs are deeply personal. It's about this challenging thing. And then other songs, it's this euphoric moment of bringing people together and everyone's singing out of joy. And nothing compares to that for me. And so this journey of wanting to do music is so led by this vision in my mind of just having people sing my words back to me, holding this space and this energy in the room and guiding people through this beautiful experience. Like the moments where I've loved music the most as a fan is when you're at these gigs where you just goosebumps up your body and you just feel something in your chest. The bass through the floor makes you feel different even to listening with headphones or speakers, and it's like it can bring you to tears. Just because I remember one of my good mates played over at Wembley Stadium a couple of years ago, and I went over and watched him play that show, and I remember there was a moment where the whole crowd was singing and I just started crying because it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a sad song. It's just like the unity of people being together and feeling safe and loved and having this shared experience. Like, we don't have that many shared experiences really these days. Like, sport is a great connector for people in that way. It's why stadiums of people can all look at this tiny ball together and cling on its every movement. And you know, some movies are this way and different forms of art and shows, but music, it's this connector where you can have, even if it's one person in the room, it's like we're on the same frequency right now. And there's not a lot of things in life that can do that. And with music, it can scale up to, you know, Coldplay just did 4 nights or 3 nights or whatever it was to like close to 100,000 people that were aligned on that frequency. I missed out on a ticket. I was spoiled. But
it sounded unreal.
Yeah, it did. It did. But that's the drive for me, is that like presentness and this sync up to the pure now, this pure moment. And surfing is very much a similar thing of like when you're on a wave, you can't think about anything else. You're just on this wave, feeling it in your feet, being on like literal energy, you know, and music is this similar feeling of locking into some pure moment. And that's always been my guiding light thing that I'm driving towards, because there's nothing in my life that I think would be a better use of my time, my short time here. You know, I've come to know very personally how finite the life that we live can be, and this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do, so that's what I'm going to keep doing.
It's such an awesome message. You mentioned about the unification of music as well, and that was something that, you know, when Taylor Swift was over here at the beginning of the year as well,
totally.
like making their own friendship bracelets and just exchanging it with random other people in the crowd. Like, you don't get that with any other sort of experience except for music.
Yeah.
You mentioned that experience of performing on stage. You've also mentioned about how songwriting is so crucial to you. So a quick would you rather.
Okay, cool.
Would you rather only be able to write but never perform, or never be able to write but you can only perform?
I think it depends what day. You know, if I'm feeling like really anxious, then I just need to write a song and get that out of me. It's like has a physical effect. Like, I'm removing this toxin from my body, you know. But then playing live in front of people and that high, sort of nothing compares to that. It's a little bit sometimes like each end of the spectrum. I mean, writing can have this high of like, oh, I just wrote something and I think it's cool. Like, that's really exciting.
Well, just as a caveat, if you can only perform, you can't have original music, no?
Or you can perform from today.
From today onwards?
Okay.
You can perform music you've already written, or you can perform music that Eamonn or I write.
And we're quite good at it, so our catalogue.
Okay.
There's violin and
Or you can only, from this day on, write music and give it to people much more talented than Eamonn.
And I never get to play in front of another person?
No.
I think I've got to go with playing. I think that's as close to my purpose as songwriting is, and it's a therapy. It's an outlet for making sense of the world. There's something in the moment of sharing a moment, playing with someone that is you know, nothing compares to it.
Well, on that note, Eamon and I have written a song, so we'd
Oh,
like
let's hear
you to know. That would have been the perfect
You with the
setup.
sad.
But no, maybe we should write a song and be like, well, Fletch, you said that you would perform anything. So at your next live show.
That's
you go,
right.
There you go.
That's right.
Oh, good. We're looking to help your career here, not hinder it.
Great, thanks.
Well, look, there wouldn't be much rhythm or anything to it. So maybe it would actually match, you know, some of your newer angles.
It's interpretive.
Songwriting.
Yeah, exactly.
Very Gang of Yuzi, where there's no real flow to it. It's just
Just say
Actually, that
what
is a
you feel.
massive-
Yeah.
that's not giving Gang of Yuzi anywhere near enough credit.
Well,
They are
it's
geniuses. They're like
complimentary.
my favourite. Yeah.
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 On that too, what's harder to? Because I guess when you're songwriting, right, you're picturing. You know, it's easy when you're writing lyrics to be like, hey, you know, you've got your time in your head, rhyme leading up to the next word,
Yeah.
rhyme.
Yeah.
Is it then harder to just sort of, you know, free flow with the pen as it is, or typing, whatever? But then when you actually go to perform, okay, how do I fit this in with what I'm playing on guitar or what's happening on drums?
I'll practice a lot before I ever perform, and so I usually feel pretty safe in what I'm doing before I'm playing it in front of people. Even if it's, say, the first time I've played it, I'll practice.
Even like if you're recording or you're just coming up with the song,
Yeah.
and you are going that more free flowy sort of narrative, off the cuff style, as opposed to the more formulaic approach.
Yeah.
That, you know, getting the song, that,
Yeah.
you know, the melody stick in people's heads. What's the harder one, or what's harder about one process over the other?
I think there's real beauty in pop music that people sometimes overlook because it's interpreted as being simple and it's accessible and easy for a listener. There's a reason, like this term of one hit wonder is like for some reason seems like an insult. It's like, do you know how many people would love a hit? Like just one? You know, everyone is trying to make a career out of music, and this idea of having something that can cut through, that people want to sing over and over again, sing back to you, becomes these songs that you wake up and you can't get out of your head. Like that's a hard thing to do. There's people in LA and all over the world. There's some great writers in Australia. This is their sole focus, just trying to write a hit. Like you were saying before, trying to write a song that's going to get synced, like be on an ad. Just try and write. I'm going to try and write the best love song I can. I'm going to use this theme. I'm going to do this. And it's like, that's really hard to do. I'm trying to be more personal in that way and find a lane where that can come to me and be receptive to that, not shy away from it, but not always chase it necessarily. And so with my songwriting, like having some songs like I'll Be, where there's no chorus and it just lives sort of on its own. I think in my songwriting, more than anything, I try and follow what the song is telling me it wants to be about. Like songs have their own sort of energy and life, and sometimes I'll mostly start writing, play guitar or piano and have a melody, and a melody will just come to me, or I'll sing and just try some different things over a chord, and then that song will present itself to me. Like then press record on my voice memos, sing a bunch of stuff. Like I'll Be really happened. I pressed record and then I just started chanting a bunch of stuff. I'll be this, I'll be na, I'll be. And I got to the end of it. It was like a 15-minute recording. I was just ranting for ages. And then I went back through and just typed out all the things that I like heard myself say sort of off the cuff. And then fit that into this structure. And that was really just following what the song was wanting to tell me it wanted to be about, more than sitting down and going, today I'm going to write a song about this thing that happened. And sometimes I do that and it works and feels good, but most of the time it's like, have these chords, have this melody. This song needs to be about this in my life. And same before about us as humans being very pattern oriented and wanting to make sense of things. It's like these feelings in guitar or piano, this melody, it often just latches on to something that's going on in my life. It's like, oh, this is what this song is about. And so, you know, I've been in a really happy relationship for 4 years, and sometimes I write a song like, this needs to be a breakup song.
Shit.
I'm like, well, I don't really want to put myself there right now, but the song is the boss, you know. But then there's many songs where I wake up and like, geez, I got to write a song about how much I love my girl, you know, like I really just try and follow the process, which sometimes lends itself to having a song that has no chorus, and then sometimes lends itself to being a different thing as well.
We're talking all about the power of music in this, and I think it would be remiss of us to have you not briefly chat about musicians making a difference.
Awesome.
And a lot of the work you've been doing lately, which we've seen with fellow friend of the show, Kalani Artist, who came through a few months back now. So how has that been? Because when you talk about the power of being in a room with people who are all connected and singing the same songs and doing that. I watched a couple of videos of you two performing to rooms and then crowds of people, and it was very much, you know, embodying exactly what that is. So how has your work with that organisation or that charity been, and what's in the works?
Well, thank you for saying that vibe's coming across. That's great.
And that was me watching it on Instagram, so I can only imagine what it was like being in the room.
Cool. I'm so grateful to MAD. If anyone's listening that doesn't know what it is, Musicians Making a Difference. There's a charity on the Central Coast. There's bases elsewhere as well, but main HQ on the coast. And I got involved with the charity. I was 12 years old. I was busking on the street in Gosford. It was a council event. A little council day festival or something, and MAD had a stall and come up to me and said, "Hey, we're MAD. This is where change young lives through the power of music." I thought, this sounds awesome, and so I made $20 that day. I donated it to MAD, and then I started going to the programs as a participant myself. And I'm very privileged to have had a really stable, supportive home life, and so, you know, I've sort of found MAD more through the music aspect of it, and it was really eye-opening and a shift in perspective for me of like, wow, there's kids my age going through just things that teenagers shouldn't be going through, you know, some people through homelessness and drug addiction and being in and out of juvie and this sort of stuff, and seeing week upon week make a positive impact and change in their lives. Like, I'm a month sober, I just found great housing, like I just got a job. There's so many amazing stories through MAD, and that was really inspiring for me growing up. And then so I was an ambassador for a while, for a couple of years after I'd done the programs, and then I volunteered for a couple of years, and then maybe the last 5 years or so I've been running programs in there myself, with a team, but I've been one of the facilitators and one of the mentors. And, you know, it's just one of the great privileges of my life to be able to have these workshops and work with young people, and be this sort of guidance of how to use music to shift things in your life. Use it to be a catalyst for a positive outlet. Use it to help you set goals, sing together, and have this unity and this progression to something better. And one of the programs I've been running in there over the last few years was one that I started with MAD. It's called Keep It MAD, and it's for the over 18s crew, and it's really about building adult life skills. And so this is the program that I shared a bit on my Insta recently. And so I really found once leaving school, I was leaning on my parents a lot for, you know, how to survive. And school is pretty, you know, it teaches you a lot of stuff, but a lot of it's not really super relevant to
life,
to being alive.
Outside of school.
Yeah, you know, it's like, sure, I can write a couple thousand words on rocks, but like I can't pay my bills. You know,
how does the tax system work?
Yeah, no, that's not important. That's for the home life. Yeah. You know, it's like, well, unfortunately, it's a reality that there's a significant amount of people that don't have home lives that can be that guidance and that education, because it's not only just support, it's like an education thing as well. And so this is one of the things we've been doing, going through some great things like finances, and going through a lot of upcoming artists want to do this program as well. So it's about, okay, like how do you get a EPK, your press kit? How do you get a one-pager? How do you write your bio? You know, what do you need to do to get into a recording setup? And we go into housing and building a team out, building your personal and professional identity. How do you create healthy habits and build momentum in your life? So each week we sort of focus on a different topic and motto. But it's there's some great things on the horizon. It's just been an awesome campaign this year with the with the Mad Day campaign, which Kalani sang the song for. Fantastic song that they recorded, and it's been awesome to see that getting some great love, and been seeing Mad pop up on the ads on television and stuff. So we're just going to keep on keeping on, bringing great programs to the youth and to the Central Coast and beyond. And next year, Mad Day will roll around soon enough, and there'll be another great song to keep raising awareness for the charity. But really, we're just using the space we have in Gosford with a studio and a podcast room, dance room, stage, cafe area, a little lounge room set up where we run our programs, get everyone in a circle and jam together and run these programs. It's a facility that I think everyone in Australia deserves and would benefit from, and so it's just about getting as many people as we can through the doors and making that change with them.
And you've mentioned just one program there that you're running, but there's a whole bunch of programs across all the different days of the week.
Exactly.
One program I remember you talking about, might have been 14 or 16 or something. I remember you telling us last time that you were doing a program and it was about sort of overcoming difficult obstacles or like difficulties in your life.
Yeah.
And I think then you said only a couple of weeks later was when your younger brother passed away.
Yeah.
So that sort of going through those experiences through Mad as well as your home life, like we've touched on how grounded you are and how mature you are, and you have this great support network around you. Mad is just one element of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Huge element, really. I've been blessed with Mad since I was a teenager, young teenager, and this is a very formative years. And obviously, I had some pretty formative things happen during that time with my brother and just music stuff. And but Mad's really been a safe space. It's been a supportive community, but it's also been an outlook on life, and using these lessons from the mentoring and from the programs, like you say, this one, I think the one you're referring to is a program we still run called Break Free, and it's about basically breaking free from obstacles that you're facing and how to overcome the challenges. So even having that framework and that system, I guess, of evaluating myself and my, not issues, but challenges, things I'm trying to overcome, is invaluable. Because not everyone has the time or has the space, feels sort of held enough or guided enough, mentored enough to really hold the mirror up to themselves and go, okay, how was my week? What did I go backwards or forwards in this goal that I'm trying to overcome? And it's a great reminder, it's a great framework to just keep pushing forward in getting through the hard things and then moving towards the great things as well.
And how do you go about then if you go backwards? So I'll use an example personally. Like I've a few months ago joined a gym, and your goal is I'd like to go at least 4 or 5 days a week. And if you tick that off, you're like, yeah, good, I'm feeling good, getting the goals. And then a week will go by and you're like, oh, I went once, or I didn't even get to the gym this week. Like mentally, how do you go about, okay, let's just keep progressing towards that goal, as opposed to, oh, I'm a failure, I'm this and that, and start talking down on yourself? Like, are there skills or, different methods that you go about to keep you on that course? And that's obviously my example, but for a broader spectrum across whatever your goals are.
Totally. Well, thank you for sharing.
I'm in therapy.
Yeah. We're in session. I think one of the things I think of in terms of your progression, it's much like the stock market. Like if you look at it day to day, it can look pretty vertical, If you zoom out and you're getting a nice little 8% a year, that's if you zoom out hard enough, it can look like a straight line. And I think that's a little bit the same in our goals and in our progression, the things we're moving towards. It's like if you can just straight line it to the thing you want, say I want to go to the gym 5 times a week, and then you just do it and then keep going, like that's wicked. But for a lot of these goals that we set and continue to set, it's just about this constant evaluation and self-management and going, okay, I went back, but that's okay, because the fact that I'm even thinking about it and having this checkpoint in the following week means I'm not going back and staying back and forgetting about it and going to zero. It's like I'm going back, I'm aware of it, set a new plan, Okay, why did I go back? Well, maybe these things, I didn't set time, I didn't put it in my calendar, or I hung around that person that dragged me into something I didn't want to do. I slept in too long. I ate poor food and then I felt terrible and didn't want to go. Whatever it is, right? Having these weekly sessions of going, okay, how do we go? And we have this cycle of change we talk about, and being at different points of, you're bludging, or you're realizing that you have something you want to change. You're setting an escape plan of how you want to go about it. Then you're acting every day, and then finally you're keeping it mad and you're actually doing the thing that you set out to do. And so it's this circle, it's this cycle. It's not like once you get to a spot, you're done and dusted. And I think that's the fun and challenging often part about life, is that if you care about your life enough and you have these goals, which I think everyone sort of does in the back of their mind, whether you want to admit it or not, if you can be forthright with that and state it and say it out loud, or tell someone else, or say it to yourself, write it down, that helps to keep the train moving a lot, and there isn't really a destination. Funnily enough, it's just like enjoying the ride. You might have these little stops along the way, but I'm not certain that anyone has this, like, I'm going to reach this goal and then I'm going to be happy till the day I die because I reached that one goal. It's like, that's just, I think it's in our nature to go, hell yeah, what's the next thing?
And what next?
And what next? And that keeps us alive. I watched this great show on Netflix, the Blue Zones, Secrets of 100 or something like that. And it's about these spots in the world where people live longer and have this life expectancy that's a bit higher than other regions in this concentrated area. And one of the things they talk about in this spot in Japan is having what they call ikigai, and it's like they have this purpose, this reason for getting up in the morning, and that's kind of consistent in different cultures throughout the world that have these areas where people live longer. It's because you have a reason to get up. It's like, I'm getting up, I'm playing music today, I'm writing a song, I've got a gig to prepare for, I'm making some content, I'm making some socials that I'm passionate about, whatever, and that's my thing, But I think one of the reasons I've got such awesome role models and grandparents and why they've lived so long is because they've all had this, like, they get up and they garden and they get out, and my grandpa was mowing the lawn. They've got a big 7-acre kind of live out in the country, and he was getting on lawnmower and mowing the lawn, and my grandma's up doing the gardening. And then on my other side, my grandparents are still playing tennis and going out and volunteering in the community, getting down swimming, doing these like mental health days each Friday. They're called Fluoro Friday. One of my grandmas is super into that. It's like, they don't have a job. They don't need to do these things, but it's purposeful and it makes you happy and gives you reason for being here and reason for showing up for yourself, for your family, for your community. And MAD is very much linked to that for me. The purpose I get out of being one of the mentors and having these experiences with the young people, but then it's the lessons that I've applied that to my life, and it's music is that for me, and has been since I was in primary school, and will continue to be until I hit a day of like, okay, I think I've hit the end of this career, but Friday is the start, so that's a long way off.
The Friday just gone as you are listening.
Yeah.
I'll be is hit. I want to say airwaves, another radio term. It's hit the services. It's out
That's
and available. So get on there.
It's hit the big streaming conglomerate.
Yeah, that's right. It's in that big streamer. But get out there and listen to it. And we know that you said you've got 5 tracks recorded. What is the plan for those? I want to hear about release schedule, if you can share, and also are they gonna come together and form a part of something, or is it single, and then we're going to see what happens?
Definitely part of a bigger project. I think taken so much time in this writing to start again that it's they belong on a bigger project for me, just even in my mind and how I think about them. We're going to take it sort of single by single for this starting point, and might kind of group together as an EP, but I think at the end of all of these songs it'll be an album, hopefully. And so I think we've got we're gonna jump back in the studio and keep recording soon. But we've got the second one that's almost mixed and ready to go as well, and so that'll be, I think, early next year. I'm doing a month-long residency in Sydney, playing at the Royal in Bondi, starting, I think it's January 12th, and then so each Sunday after that, so 19th, 20, I can't do the maths in my head, 26th, and then the 2nd, I think it is, of Feb. And so we're playing those month-long of shows there. And in this time, we'll put out a couple more songs, and then I'm keen to get back over the States. I have my US working visa now, which has been an awesome kind of hook up through the label and through the team. Had that scary meeting with the agents, you know,
to get your visa.
Yeah, to get my visa. I mean, the guy was chill, but I was stressing. I felt like I was doing something wrong when I wasn't, you know.
So it sounds easier to smuggle drugs into some other countries than it is just to get a visa to go to America.
100%. Not that I'm trying to smuggle drugs anywhere, but it seems that way. But no, it's good. I'm stoked that that the US government has said yes to me, and that the team sort of pulled that into place. So I'm keen to get back over there and focus some energy there as well, after this little season here in Australia and getting these first songs out here and building the community here.
So back to America for writing or performing as well.
Yeah, keen to get into some gigs over there. So I had a show in New York last month. I'm forgetting where we're up to. Maybe a month before, in September. So late September was over in
nearly
the States.
last month.
Yeah, nearly a month and a half ago. Had a show in New York. Was my first show in the States, which was really, really fun. I was at a great venue, the Mercury Lounge, which is sort of one of these institutions that has been there for a long time. So it was really cool to play that. Like my producer, Eric, said to me, "Oh, I played that 20 years ago," because he grew up in New York. So he was like, "That's cool that you're playing there." So it was great to sort of get the foot in the door and get that underway there. So keen to just go back and keep working on shows. I've got great crew in LA as well as New York. And yeah, I think it'll be, now that I'm allowed to play gigs, it's cool to push for that.
Are you back and forth quite a bit, or did you have an extended period in America before you came back?
I've more just been doing sort of trips at this point.
Okay.
So I did a few weeks.
What's the longest you've been away at a time?
Probably like a month. Yeah,
okay.
It's not like I haven't done any sort of pseudo moves or anything yet, but
yeah. How does that go for you then? Because you've obviously talked about your support network at home with like your parents, your grandparents, your partner.
Yeah.
How do you go when you're away? Do they go with you, or are you completely alone and you have your US family, if you will, while you're over there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely FaceTime is great, reflecting on, you know, just being alive at this time. Like, I can't imagine 50 years ago going over the other side of the world. It's like I'll get a postcard that you wrote a few days ago, and you know, it's like that would
3 weeks ago if you want to go further back.
This would be punishing. So it's not extreme to be able to just ring everyone that I'd normally talk to every day and still talk to them every day. And then I've been blessed with a great crew in terms of the teams over there and in LA and New York. And one of my best mates lives in LA. And got some good friends there. So it's great to be able to see some new places and find different areas to feel comfortable in, because the Central Coast is so beautiful. It's also like a bubble, as anywhere is, you know. If you stay in the same spot, that's all you'll ever know a little bit. And so it's been great making some of the record in Sydney and working down there in the city and spending time in the city. It's a different scene. There's different venues and you know, producers and studios to work in, and then the same on the coast. We've got amazing facilities here on the coast, and it's and some been great gigs happening lately, which is amazing. And so it's cool to just keep branching out and find little regions everywhere. I think Mike said to me one time when they were focusing, I can't remember whose career they were focusing on breaking. It might have been Dean or someone.
Dean Lewis.
Yeah, just like, you follow where the little fires are, you know. It's like you put a song out and for some reason it might, like 6 months down the track, once it's died down everywhere, it might like pop up in South Korea. It's like, okay, sick. I guess we're going to South Korea, you know. And so that's just been the journey for me of like, I've had an amazing team come on board out of LA and out of New York, and had some people that were keen to write in Nashville. So I did that on my previous trip, the one before the last. And, you know, I think this is the fun of it. It's like I'm blessed to have the support to keep chasing the dream, and just going to go where the opportunity is.
Yeah, and expose yourself to as much as possible, and
Legally.
legally expose yourself to as much as possible.
No, David.
And we're
Totally.
as we said, we're about to see the journey of that. Can we expect any local shows before you do jet back off to America?
Yeah, I think for sure. I haven't booked one in yet. I've got this residency in Sydney.
You're like a magician in Vegas. I got a residency at the MGM or whatever. You got a residency in Bondi. That's
totally.
Cool.
But the last show I did on the coast was at the Wombrel Surf Club, Wombrel Ocean View Cafe, I think they call it. And that was really fun. We had just under 300 people at that show,
awesome.
The headline show, and played that with my band. And that was a little while ago now, and that was under the old name. But I think we'll tee something up on the coast, maybe come the next single or the one after. But definitely play around the coast, or if anyone feels like a trip, or anyone's listening in Sydney, we'll be playing down in the city.
Get along to it for sure.
Yeah.
Just quickly on the name, is there any fear that people will see Fletcher Kent and be like, oh, I don't know that guy, I'm not going to be interested in engaging with going to a live show or streaming or whatever? Or are you fairly confident that, you know, you and your team and I guess the branding behind it will be consistent?
I think the career that I've always dreamed of it's a lot beyond like where I was at before I changed my name anyway. So it doesn't so much matter. You know, I think the support that I had and the people that were really supportive of me are still here because they still follow me on socials, or they still, message me and are keen for the new music.
Yeah.
And so I think beyond that, the peripheral people that were aware of me that maybe knew my old name but didn't follow me or weren't super on top of the music I was putting out or whatever, I think
they weren't likely to engage anyway.
I think this music is the purpose is to reach the people that it's meant to reach.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel hopeful that it's can do that. So I'm not too phased. And I also think the old name was one of those things where people would always say, how do we spell it? How do I say it? I can't remember what it is. You know, like Fletcher Kent is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to latch onto. So I think, as well as it feels like a new starting point, it just feels right to be a new name.
We may have said pile-in before we said pill-in.
Well, there we go.
I think we did. But on that, like the whole topic of authenticity, I mean, there's no point latching onto something for, not that your name isn't authentic to you, but in terms of how you envision your project and your musical project yourself, there's no point in hanging on to something that isn't what feels right. And what you've conveyed in this conversation is that it felt right, and this is what I was going to do. This is what I needed to do. So for you to then hang back onto something that isn't necessarily representative of that authenticity in order to hopefully keep some hanger-oners hanging on.
Exactly.
You know, it's almost redundant.
And I think, you know, this name it's just a fresh start, and it's what I'm glad that I didn't make up something, like in terms of, like you're saying, authenticity and being genuine. It's like it's on my birth certificate, you know, so it's not like this new identity that I'm trying to do. It's just continuing the authenticity, and that's meaningful to me. I'm glad that I didn't land on something and make something up, and I'm sure I wouldn't have chosen just anything random that didn't mean anything, but to just run with, you know, my first and my middle name it feels clean. It feels me. It's what I was born as. And, you know, I remember when I was deciding what I was going to, I was like, I don't know if I'm sure if Fletcher Kent's the thing. And my mum said, I really like Fletcher Kent. I said, yeah, you named me that. I know you like it.
I can't ask you that.
Imagine if your mum's like, no, I'm not feeling that.
No.
It just doesn't flow. I don't know.
Don't like it. Yeah, okay.
Regretted it from day 2.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's I'm stoked with it.
Awesome. Well, that is the handle to look up if you are looking for Fletcher Kent's stuff.
It's all in the show notes.
It's in the show notes. Fletcher Kent is where people can find you on Instagram. Are there any other places? And of course, the streaming behemoths.
Yeah.
Are there any other places where you would like to direct people to find you and what you're doing?
Yeah, whatever you use. I'm on Fletcher Kent on everything. Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I have a website. It's pretty much just a landing page to send you to the stuff I just listed. But, yeah, I think if anyone listening is keen to assist in any way, listening to the song would be really meaningful to me. And I'd just love to know what people think. I put a lot of myself into this song, and as we were talking about music before, that's real melody led. This song isn't that. It's lyric kind of first, and so if people can relate to the lyrics, that'd be sick.
And you would have heard 20 to 30 seconds of it in this podcast. So if that wasn't a good enough taste for you, well, I mean, it should be a good enough taste for you, but just listen to the whole thing. Go and listen to the whole thing and enjoy it, because at this stage of recording, I haven't heard the whole thing. We were talking about it before we started recording, but I've pieced together bits of it from your Instagram, and the little bits that I've heard, I've connected with. There's been lines that I've been like, yeah, I relate to. And also you can feel the emotion in those little snippets. So I'm sure that's been conveyed to the people listening to this now.
Sick.
And their homework is to go and listen to the song. Go support a fantastic artist from the Central Coast, but doing great things everywhere. Fletcher Kent, thank you so much for coming in. It's been so good to catch up.
Thanks very much for having me, boys. Great to hang. Appreciate it.
This episode of Homebrewed was produced by my good friend Eamonn Snow. It was recorded at Sonora Studios in Tuggerah on Darkinjung Country. For more from us, head to www.homebrewed.au. And until next time.